That's it. That's it. Please make yourself comfortable. Make yourself home. There will be an opportunity to meet and greet our wonderful nonprofits and our wonderful state leaders, representatives are here. Let's give a hand to Mr. Steve Xiarhos, Mr. Kip Diggs. And my dream was 3 years ago, when we opened this coffee shop, to bring people together regardless of a political background, faith, race. We are better together. And we rise by lifting each other up, right? Yes. There we go. So first of all, I want to share with you what is changing the world. Our vision is changing the world one heart at a time, starting with my own heart. Our mission is inspire, inform, equip our circle of influence to be change makers for good. And our strategy, various social pathways, programs, events like this, providing opportunities for physical, spiritual, and emotional wellness on Cape Cod. And every year we do more than 100 events that is dedicated to bring our community together, to bring awareness on different topics. And using this opportunity, I want to invite you to Mental Health Awareness event that will take place on last day of February 28th in the evening. We will have distinguished, wonderful experts on this field, the best of the best on Cape Cod. And we will have panel discussion as well. So you're welcome to sign up already, because this year we had such a effect. We have so many people signing up. We had to turn away a lot of people. So make sure you sign up in advance on changingtheworldtv.org website. And our flyers are out there. So this year, like I said, our first annual event was our first event as a nonprofit that we organized in 2022. And Mel was instrumental in this event. And it was like a ripple effect, like a catalyst for our community. We've seen so many things, good things happen as a result of this human trafficking awareness event. And you will hear some more. And let me introduce our incredible speaker, Mel. And I would like to read biography of her. Melanie is a survivor of childhood sexual abuse who uses her story to help others heal. For over a decade, Melanie has worked with victims of abuse, supporting families and children through her roles as an advocate, speaker, and trainer. She has shared her inspiring journey across the country. She's a national level speaker, showing that healing is possible and faith can guide you through the darkest time. Now living a joyful life with her husband, child, and cat on Cape Cod, Melanie loves sports, church, and making a difference. Her message is clear: with courage and compassion, you can overcome anything. So please give a hand to our wonderful speaker of tonight, Melanie.
Thank you, Ina. Hi, everyone. My name is Melanie Barton, and I'm honored to be here with you all tonight at Great Awakening Coffee House. You may recognize me from being a familiar face around here, because I very much am. I worked here for a time, my entire pregnancy with my daughter, as a barista, and still come almost daily for the best coffee in town. I was here this morning. I will talk more about that shortly, but it is truly a humbling moment for me to be standing before you tonight in this space, sharing my story and journey. I titled this presentation, When Darkness Meets the Shining Light of Hope, From Trauma to Triumph. My journey through child sexual abuse, sexual assault, healing, justice, advocacy, and becoming passionate about the fight against human trafficking. Because although the road was very dark to get here, I'm empowered to say tonight that I've been walking in the light for a very long time. And I've been living a beautiful life after trauma for many years. And it started the year that I defined my faith over 10 years ago, when God started to turn my pain into true purpose. One of my favorite quotes is, "Difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations," and I agree so greatly. Every time I get to share my story and voice across the country is a beautiful destination for me. But being here sharing my story back at home is that much more beautiful, because it's right here in this community that I found one of my deepest callings of purpose, both personally and professionally. God has built me a beautiful life here that I only dreamed of long ago, in the depths of my sorrow and in the aftermath of years of trauma. It was surely a treacherous but beautiful road to get here, but one of the most important things I embody today is that I'm a survivor more than my story, and so is every survivor out there. God says that we are more than conquerors, and I believe at some point it became more about what God was doing beyond my story itself, as you'll see as I unpack my journey. So my GA coffee connection, I already told you I was a barista here. It started with a phone call from Ina in the middle of 2021 saying that God told her that I was supposed to be the third barista even before GA opened, and the rest is history. I learned the art of coffee here. I actually cried over trying to perfect froth milk more than one time. And I learned the value of community here. Because of the passion I came into the barista role with, I was grateful that Ina and Andrew let me create and host the first ever human trafficking awareness event here in January 2022 with a good friend of mine, Jasmine, an incredible survivor who you will hear from later tonight, who shared her story and has been a big part of this event ever since its inception. Andrew and Ina have carried her story and all of you here beyond that first event, bringing speakers and voices into the conversation and hosting inspiring events here in honor of Human Trafficking Awareness Month over the past 4 years. It has surely brought this incredible community together and has sparked many of you to do something with what you've learned over the years, such as writing cards to survivors for Bags of Hope, partnering financially, and even starting organizations. I'm going to give a shout out to my friends at Treasured Life Initiative, which organization was born out of this event all those years ago. And I love how many of you keep coming back to be voices of change, and never again can we say that we didn't know that human trafficking happens here on Cape Cod, and this is not where it ends. So who am I? A little about me professionally. I'm a trained forensic interviewer of children through the Cornerhouse model and Model Consulting Fine curriculum, interviewing those who do not speak. I've spent 10 years of my career as a family, child, teen, and adult victim survivor advocate, first at a domestic violence crisis center in my home state of New Hampshire for 2 years, and for 6 years at a child advocacy center right here on Cape Cod called Children's Cove, in 2 roles as family advocate and forensic interviewer. And currently I'm contracted with multiple organizations across the country, providing consultation on cases, presenting and sharing my story of surviving and thriving, to advocating across the country, and I'll talk a little bit more about my career in advocacy as we go. I'm a mama to a beautiful 19-month-old baby girl, a wife to my incredible husband, Jonathan, and he'll hate this, but he's in the back of the room as my #1 support. I dreamed of him long ago. And living here, a beautiful life here by the ocean, as I said, living a beautiful life after trauma. I'm a daughter, an avid softball player, a basketball player, and a dancer just for fun. Shout out to Arch the Dance Company, where I take dance right now. I'm a Camp Sunshine volunteer, a faithful friend, a member of Harbor Church, a coffee lover, obviously. I'm a survivor more than my story, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I went from victim, survivor, to thriving and shining and working in advocacy in the trenches myself professionally, and how I was able to heal and walk alongside survivors of human trafficking and work with organizations who support them. This was me as a child, before sexual trauma became a part of my world. What I can tell you is that the first 8 to 9 years of my life were filled with childlike, simple hope, and I would be described as a carefree young girl who loved to dance, to be in front of the camera, and full of smiles and fun. A social butterfly by definition, which I have reclaimed. If you know me, you know. I had tons of friends in every social group. I was involved in many activities like Girl Scouts and after-school programs, and sports like dance, basketball, and softball filled my schedule. You see, sexual abuse, sexual assault, and trauma became a part of my world in 2002 to 2004, and in other forms throughout the years. I was sexually abused when I was 9 to 10 by my after-school babysitter's teenage sons, and again, at 12 years old, I was violently sexually assaulted by my best friend at the time's relative. And I was assaulted as a college student without much memory and as a young adult. My trust was broken. I was broken, and I vowed I was never going to tell. I couldn't imagine how I would. Everything changed in an instant. After the sexual assault at age 12, I became ashamed, angry, riddled with guilt and anxiety and shame about my body. I lost trust trust and interest in the things that I loved the most. I quit dance when I was 13, and I felt a sense of fear all the time. I lost the confidence in myself, and my once bubbly spirit started to fade. I carried shame from the first time hands touched my body without my consent. The social butterfly and ham in front of the camera that you just saw, the kind of girl I was, along with my bubbly spirit, started to fade away. Light became darkness, and I wasn't sure I would ever find my way back to the light I illuminated so powerfully my first 9 years of life. I battled self-injury, cutting myself, and restricting my eating because I wanted control over something, and never thought I'd see the light again, or hope. All the hope I had in the world seemed to crumble that day back in 2004. I was navigating flashbacks and nightmares of what they said and did to me, and I felt a sense of hopelessness that is difficult to explain unless you've been there. I felt painfully different than my peers, and a powerful deep seed of pain was planted in my heart, mind, and body. Months after my sexual assault at 12, 20 years ago now, 2 decades, 4 months shy of my 13th birthday, I found myself walking into the Child Advocacy Center in my home state of New Hampshire to be interviewed about what happened to me. There are over 1,000 of these across the country and 12 in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, including here on Cape Cod, Children's Cove, who responds to local child sexual abuse and trafficking cases. I felt terrified beyond words, remembering every little thing that he said and did to me that day, and fearing that if I told my secret, something worse would happen. My trust was broken, I was broken, and I could not imagine how I was going to tell. I was so used to keeping it a secret, hiding my pain on a daily basis, and ultimately, I had settled for this dark, miserable existence as my life forever. I had no hope, and I never thought I would find the light at the end of the dark, horrible tunnel I was facing. Walking into the CAC, I was greeted with a friendly face and a smile, and for the first time in a long time, I felt safe. I could sense that the woman standing in front of me, my forensic interviewer, understood and that she believed me. I disclosed that day, and the trajectory of my journey changed for the better forever. The weight of shame was lifted, my voice was found, my trauma started to become triumph. Hope began to take root in my life the day that I found my voice about what happened to me. At the end of the interview, I was brought to a shelf and baskets filled with teddy bears. I was told that I could choose any bear that I wanted, and to me, even though it wasn't said, I took that as a token of my courage. I was ultimately and literally given the gift of hope when I walked out of the CAC that day. I chose this bear right here. I brought this with me to show the true impact the Child Advocacy Center and teams of people like you the impact that you can have on a child and family. This bear has the word hope written on its foot, and I saw it on that shelf 20 years ago. I remember the day I walked out of the CAC, and I remember my 12-year-old brain thinking, hope, there is hope for me. I don't have to live with the secret anymore. I am free. Through my struggles in the aftermath of the abuse, I held on to this hope bear as a reminder that I found my voice, and I no longer had to be trapped and silenced by the secret, that with hope comes freedom. I saw the light again, and I've carried this hope bear with me ever since. Think about it, 2 decades. 2 decades I've carried this with me. I found my voice that day at the CAC, and my life was forever changed for the better. It is something I will never forget, and for sure had a huge hand in changing the trajectory of my journey, bringing me justice and ultimately back to hope. Because of the CAC, I started my journey on holding on to hope and light and darkness no matter what the journey has entailed. And as I say often, healing is not linear, but it is absolutely worth it. 2 years after I had disclosed, in a long process, what happened to me at 12 went to trial. Because I found my voice at the CAC, I was able to give a victim impact statement, and when I walked out of the courtroom, I knew I would give back to this field and CACs one day. I was determined to find purpose in my pain. There's a song that goes, "The devil's in the details and the truth is in the fire. Take heart, the rain will come around. The ashes of our innocence return to holy ground." And it came to me recently when I was sitting in that same court parking lot. I was in my hometown, and I just decided to sit in the court parking lot that I walked out of years ago. What God has done to turn my pain into purpose is absolutely holy ground. The forensic interviewer, the detective on my case, and the victim witness advocate at the courthouse became my dream team. They always believed in me, and encouraged me so much along the way. They brought me back to light and hope. This is the value of survivors having teams of people who go before them, who walk beside them, and go in front of them as a defense against this evil. My team was all present at my college graduation party, and my forensic interviewer and I reconnected 7 years after she interviewed me. And since 2012, we've traveled across the country in New Hampshire, sharing our story as to remind us all of why we do this work. And I can truly say that we are actually really good friends today. She's always a text away, and we have prayer calls often as we share the same faith, which is a beautiful full circle thing. We were together last week actually at a strategic planning for a board of directors that I'm part of, and it's truly full circle in God's beautiful tapestry of handiwork that turned everything meant for evil for good. The detective on my case came to my wedding in September 2022 with his wife and has been so supportive all these years, even gave me a scholarship to go to college. I've met countless women on my faith journey, some are in this room tonight, who have come alongside me in real and tangible ways which have profoundly impacted my outcomes through prayer, love, and showing up. My team celebrates my wins. You are the teams of people among survivors that can celebrate wins, and as a community, you can support those who support families or these organizations who help survivors. It is truly a powerful thing when someone lights your flame and keeps it going. I've learned that healing is a lifelong journey. Pain and joy can coexist, and healing is not linear, but hope and healing and thriving beyond trauma and turning it into triumph is possible. The day I found my voice was also the day God started to work in my heart through some of my deepest pain to cultivate a defined purpose in this life, to be a light and to give hope to others. I try to carry that feeling and message of hope to others as I advocate and support survivors, and as I educate those I have the opportunity to about what I've learned and how I found hope, healing, and purpose in the decade of walking families through the process I walked through long ago, and on the advocacy path in my daily life that I've been on since. I've learned so much. Forgiving what we cannot forget creates a new way to remember. We turn the memory of our past into hope for our future. Hope is a word that we often see or hear on a daily basis in many different contexts. The word hope also encompasses the synonyms achievement, ambition, aspiration, belief, confidence, desire, expectation, faith, goal, optimism, promise, prospect, wish, and the bright side. Essentially, hope is the light at the end of the tunnel. Today, I'm full of hope and on a mission to carry hope to others. But it wasn't always like that. Through the support of caring adults, my middle school guidance counselor, teachers, and others around me, and my dream team, my MDT, which consisted of law enforcement and advocates that believed me and those in the courtroom, believing in and supporting me along the way, and the Lord Jesus Christ at the forefront of my journey now, I got the help that I needed. Hope goes so much deeper and has been more difficult for me to embody than one would think by having a conversation with me or looking at me standing up here. Hope is seeing the light despite being surrounded by darkness. My journey from the darkness into the light began 20 years ago this year. Going through my court file that I requested as I travel across the country and share my story, I share some of my court file as a learning experience for professionals. I found that it was on October 6, 2004 that I found my voice at the Child Advocacy Center. I was interviewed about what happened to me, and then my criminal case went forward. So that means it's been 20 years since this year, and that feels monumental to me. And as you think about my story and why you're here tonight and what you're learning, I hope it does for you too. As years went by, I continued to find my voice, which ignited my passion to be a voice for survivors in all capacities. Today, I can carry my hope and light through my experiences to others without shame. The definition of rise, an upward movement, an instance of becoming higher, my definition would say brighter. The definition of shine, to give out a bright light, to direct that light somewhere to see something in the dark, something brighter. Survivors go on to do incredible things. To shine is the epitome of being the light, not the darkness, for ourselves and for others. Even on the hardest and darkest days of my journey, I've always desired and aspired to be a beacon of hope and light like a lighthouse on the shore, guiding others to it. I try to be bold with my experiences to let others know that they are not alone. My hope is that other survivors around the world who are trapped in darkness from this will see the light and step into the light for themselves. We can all be a part of the ripple effect of positive, encouraging, and beautiful light shining on and for survivors. I've always believed in my heart that if you find your voice, it can change your life. The CAC planted that reality for me long ago, and God propelled it forward even more profoundly for me over the years, calling me to speak across the country and to share boldly so that others can have hope and heal. It takes a village. It takes a community. We can only help the survivors we can reach. And to reach more survivors, we've got to reach more of the community, to know and to not shy away from the fact that this is a real problem here, even on Cape Cod. And we can all be a part of the solution and encouraging and igniting the voices of survivors first and supporting the professionals who are willing to walk beside them. I wrote this poem after many years of healing to describe the journey. For years, in hopes of turning away from self-destructive behavior, I would write. As I look back on my journey of who I have become, the paths that I have crossed, the days that I came undone, this is a reflection of truth, my life, my strength, my pain, a journey through my eyes, what I lost and what I gained. One year when I was 12, I was faced with another fight, something I was ashamed of. My heart was filled with fright. A young girl taken advantage of, an acquaintance gone too far, a child held down and violated, the beginning of her scars. Nightmares and flashbacks haunt her. It's an everyday struggle, trying to deal with the pain, fighting to pick up the puzzle. Taking it out on herself was the only goal, self-injury, restricting, trying to gain back control. An interview and a trial, she had to make a choice. She wanted her life back, and she no longer tolerated a forever silenced voice. There was a small conviction following a long 2 years, an outcome good and bad after days and nights of tears. Another step in her journey, a chapter in her life. That young girl has grown up, and her goal this time is to thrive. A lifetime full of dreams have begun to show through. From high school beyond college, she'll say she's going to show you. Her compassion for others who have traveled down the same road, a career to bring justice, a voice that says you're not alone, a mission to happiness, a beautiful life ahead. I will not back down. I'll show my strength instead. I stand before you tonight, 33 years old, successful, living my dreams, living here on Cape Cod by the ocean, which is healing within itself, truly happy, married. My husband has been an incredible, this is the first time he's heard me speak, by the way. My husband has been an incredible source of strength and comfort, loving every part of me, even through the hardest parts steadfastly. And I'm a mom. Sometimes I'm still in awe that I can say that. Something I never thought possible after sexual trauma because of the physical ramifications of my assaults. But God. I faced another traumatic event here on Cape Cod in 2016. I was in a plane crash, and I'm dropping that, but I do not take it lightly, especially after the news this week. It was a big event in my life, but I survived again. It catapulted me into what I like to call uncharted territory, a deeper physical healing that I longed for years. Because of the plane crash and the physical injuries that I sustained, I, for the first time in a very long time, had no choice but to pay attention to my body. In the midst of healing from that, I discussed with my doctor about some pain and difficulty I was having in some of my most intimate parts. It took a lot of grit, grace, and courage to face it, but thankfully I had a great team of doctors who had some training in trauma-informed care, and because I'm an advocate, I knew how to advocate that for myself. And many incredible women in Army from Harbor Church praying for me in the trenches of the not-so-pretty healing, and a husband who was always number one on my team, cheering me on and holding my hand to the finish line. I was diagnosed in 2019 with a pelvic pain condition as a direct result of my childhood trauma, aka my body kept the score. And I went through 2 years of intensive treatment, pelvic floor physical therapy for that condition, facing my past for the first time in a long time in a way that I never had before. It is truly a miracle, the healing and connection to my body that came to me as a result of facing this condition head on. It was a vulnerable process, but also worth it, like the overall nonlinear healing journey that I had already been on for years. I started an Instagram page called @VictoryOverPelvicPain with the hashtag #VictoryOverPelvicPain so others could read my experience and even for a moment not feel alone. This helped me so deeply on my own journey through this part of healing, and God healed me and delivered me from so much. There's a verse in the Gospels that talks about a woman who had a condition, bleeding for 12 years, which with something like that feels like a lifetime. Starting in Mark 5, verse 25, a crowd was following Jesus, much like me early on my journey to faith in 2014, 2015. A woman was there who had been bleeding for 12 years. I had faced this pain for 15 years, even through all of my healing, and it guided me to pursue healing from it. She had suffered a great deal. For me, it was spending years in silence, not knowing that something was very wrong or what to call it, and spending everything she had. I spent so many years in counseling trying to heal mentally, but it was a physical problem. Under the care of many doctors, she believed that if she touched his clothes, she would be healed immediately. Her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she had been freed from suffering. When I let God and others into this piece of my journey, my body started to heal in a real and tangible way, and miracles happened. He freed me from it. I entered into my current marriage with healing I never thought I'd have. I thought I'd find out the hard way on my wedding night, but actually I got pregnant on my wedding night. Mark 5:34 says, Jesus said to the woman in the story, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. Today I am free from my suffering in monumental ways." Now let's talk about my advocacy. I'm going to talk about these organizations because it's important to talk about who's doing the work in the trenches, right? I'm sharing my story. My story began in New Hampshire, but who's here on Cape Cod doing this work and helping survivors and encouraging survivors' voices and doing the work in the trenches like many of you are. And so these are just some organizations that I've either worked for professionally or have connected with, and I'll tell a little story about each of them before I wrap up. So One Voice for Freedom. Nicole Bromley is behind this organization. She was one of the first books that I read early on my healing journey. I still have the original book that I eventually got signed by her, but it still has my tear marks on the pages. And so Nicole, I've had the opportunity to bring her to my college to speak. She started as a survivor of child sexual abuse, also whose heart was broken for survivors of human trafficking, kind of going beyond her story. And so she wrote 3 books. She started a curriculum. She also has a online support group for adult survivors of child sexual abuse and any sexual trauma, and she has gone into the brothels of Cambodia rescuing survivors herself. And so I can't talk all night about her work, but check it out. IamOneVoice.org, but she's made a profound impact. We call each other pen pals because early on my journey back in 2004, we didn't have the technology we do now, so we were emailing back and forth for like 10 years. So I have emails upon emails on my darkest nights, emailing Nicole, is this ever going to end? I don't think I'm going to make it, but then, hey, I made it, and this is what I'm doing now. Written on Your Heart, you may be familiar with the concept here, making cards for survivors. So those of you who've made cards for survivors, for Bags of Hope, for Jasmine, this is kind of another organization that was doing this in New Hampshire as well. So making, my friend Lauren started it. She was a college student. She didn't have finances to put towards the cards, but her heart was broken. And so she just started partnering with organizations, and she's like, I've got a pen and a card. I could write an encouraging note to a survivor, and that makes a difference, and there's stories that come out of that, which is amazing what these cards meant to survivors who received them. This one you might be very familiar with. I was honored to spend 6 years working here on Cape Cod at Children's Cove, the Cape and Islands Child Advocacy Center, in 2 roles. For 5 years, I was the family advocate. And for about a year before I got married and had a kid and did all the things, I was a trained forensic interviewer there, interviewing kids about what had happened to them in adolescence as well. And so I saw what happens here on Cape Cod firsthand. And a few of my fellow advocates are in the audience who I had the complete honor to see in action, and the compassion and the incredible, just the way that people step into the trenches with these survivors. I see 3 representatives sitting right next to each other in the audience, and it was an honor to work with you, to see your heart, and to see your heart at Independence House, and to see just the ways that we were able to work as a team, all for the common goal, to walk people through this and to get them to the other side. And so I loved my time at Children's Cove, and it will always be a part of my story. And Light of Life Ministries is kind of a new one for me that I've been able to support financially, which is nowhere near what I thought I'd be able to do going through this, never thinking that this would be something that I'd be a part of in a tangible way. Another way to turn my pain to purpose. So the woman that interviewed me as a child, that's Christy, and she started an organization back in New Hampshire for survivors of human trafficking and homelessness and women with their children having a place to go and heal. And so she has had incredible things happen, but I've been able to help her financially, which is amazing. It's just another way to use my pain for purpose to help people go from trauma to triumph. So there's many different ways that you can be involved after an event like this. A lot of people are always like, what do I do? There's many different ways, and think about it, pray about it, whatever you do. Talk to some of us. There's plenty of organizations represented here. Treasured Life Initiative. Completely honored to be on the board of directors for Treasured Life. It's been really, really cool to see out of the first ever human trafficking event what this board and this group has done and what they're passionate about doing. It's one thing to come to an event and just kind of let it sit within you and then not know where to go. And they didn't know where to go. They just did. They just went bravely and boldly, and I'm just so in awe of your courage to just step out and say, we're going to do something about this. And so definitely they're going to be on the panel, so we'll learn more as we go, but doing incredible, incredible work here locally. And these are just some of the handful of organizations I've worked with just this year in my travels, using my story of hope to inspire and encourage others, and especially help professionals in the trenches working with survivors every day. There is a high level of burnout in the trenches. And so if I can lend my voice and my story to say, this is why you do it, don't give up. And so there can be really, I know it, I lived it. I went to those hard cases that got a not guilty. I went, to courtrooms and different things that didn't go according to plan or how we thought it should have gone. And it's hard. It's hard to see survivors suffer after they've already suffered enough. But what I have seen is the beautiful rising up of professionals in the trenches working with survivors every day. I recently completed a 2-year contract as a survivor-led content creator and subject matter expert with the Zero Abuse Project and Survivor Space Initiative, which is an online website for survivors of child sexual abuse with every resource you could imagine. Videos of survivors sharing different parts of their story, legal things, it is a wealth of information. Multiple times a month there's different, they call them survivor circles, where survivors go on and bring guests on with them and they just have conversations about all the things that survivors go through. And then I was just in Wisconsin at a 3-day prosecutor boot camp training, assisting an attorney present on difficult witness dynamics, which is a very real thing when you're working with survivors of trauma. And so I have a handful of workshops that I offer for professional conferences, solo and with a co-presenter. I recently signed a contract with I Have the Right To, and I'm a board member with SHIELD Task Force out of West Virginia, the ultimate way to turn pain into purpose and trauma into triumph. Although I know that full-blown advocacy isn't the way for every survivor, there is something here for everyone. The journey has brought me to incredible places, and I'm humbled and honored to be where I am today. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and I look forward to connecting with some of you. As a woman with a strong faith, a passionate voice, and a compassionate, open heart, it has been an absolute honor to be here tonight and to share a bit of my journey with all of you. Just kidding. So before I fully close, I did leave out one important connection, personally and professionally, that has been a crucial part of this event from the very beginning. I'm honored to introduce to you a dear friend of mine, Jasmine. Jasmine and I crossed paths, very amazingly, back in 2014 when I was 1 year into my advocacy career as an advocate in my home state of New Hampshire. I was working at a crisis center and an imminent danger shelter for domestic violence survivors. Jasmine came to train my group of advocates I was working with for the Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence, sharing her story bravely and educating us on human trafficking as a whole and how to better work with the survivors we were walking alongside every day. And that's where my heart first broke. Since then, I've volunteered with Jasmine's organizations, been to many of her speaking engagements, and have had many heart-to-heart chats about life and advocacy. My heart has really been broken through causes like hers for those who have walked this path, another level of evil. No one should ever be for sale. Jasmine has been a good friend to me on my own healing journey and as a survivor of child sexual abuse and sexual assault. Many of you know her and know her story from hearing her speak at this event around the state. It is such a testimony of hope and healing. It is an honor to share my amazing friend with you tonight via Zoom. As a survivor of sex trafficking and drug addiction, Jasmine is an effective keynote speaker, panel participant, facilitator for trainings, workshops, and groups. She has spoken on panels at the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights in New Hampshire and at two-sided panels for the members of United Nations in New York. Jasmine consults with healthcare professionals, law enforcement personnel, educators, nonprofit organizations, and she advises on issues such as safe homes, program growth, curriculum development, survivor support, and peer mentorship. She is the founder and director of Jasmine Grace Outreach, author of The Diary of Jasmine Grace, Trafficked, Recovered, Redeemed, and recently opened a beautiful home called Living Hope Farms, providing housing, programming, solace, and careers, empowering survivors to create beautiful lives after abuse, exploitation, and addiction. She's here on Zoom with us tonight to share a little bit about what moving from trauma to triumph means to her. Thank you for joining us, Jasmine. All right, Jasmine, my question for you is, what does going from trauma to triumph mean to you?
Trauma to triumph. That's a great question. I definitely didn't know that's what I was doing. I just was journeying through recovery, trying to live a good, normal, productive life. I got out of the commercial sex trade. I had to get clean and sober and put my life together one day at a time. I became a mother very early on in recovery. And so obviously having a life to take care of and role model for just became my mission, and to make sure that my son knew what it was like to have faith, but not just go to church, but actually be in the community doing things that make an impact. And so I just took it one day at a time and sought deeper healing through my faith. I was always in substance abuse counseling and or Christian counseling. And then it was really through the church, through good, solid people that I met, the church ladies who took me under their wing, the men who wanted nothing from me. There was no strings attached, but they were just kind and authentic, really made a difference in my life. And as I journeyed through, I always joke and say, I didn't realize I had so much trauma until I got married. And I say, if you want all your trauma to come out, get into an intimate relationship. And if my husband could be standing here next to me, he would probably laugh because he had no idea what he was signing up for.
Mine's laughing in the back. Yeah.
Huh?
I said mine's laughing in the back, knowing that truth.
Yeah. So it's been a journey for sure. Didn't recognize that I was even a victim of trafficking until, being in a marriage and having to be authentic and vulnerable with somebody was so difficult. And through a separation, I sought deeper healing through my faith. And it was really when that came and someone told me that I was a survivor of trafficking, that made all the difference. Because then I realized, okay, I didn't make the choice to become a prostitute, right? But there was actually someone in my life who spotted my vulnerabilities and was able to coerce and force and manipulate me into that lifestyle while making me believe I chose it for myself. And that's the biggest thing about trafficking is, as long as they can make you believe you chose it, it's your fault. And I stayed for so long and stayed in that victim mindset. But really, that healing from the trauma has been lifelong. I mean, I'm still in a process, right? But I've been in recovery and off the streets and out of that life for, I think, about 18 years now. And it's been through my faith and through my marriage, that separation, even to a painful divorce, to a reconciliation and a remarriage. It's deep forgiveness that has brought me the most healing from trauma. Forgiveness of myself, forgiveness of the perpetrators, my trafficker, And that has been able to propel me to have just a deep understanding and a compassion for the brokenness of people, and why this crime continues to happen all day long is because we're all coming out of a broken system. And we're all in a deep need of healing and redemption, and really being able to forgive and to continue to walk through that healing journey, and remarry my husband, have more kids, and continue on this path has been really freeing and also healing all at the same time. So really, that's my story. Like, how did I go from trauma to triumph is really through my faith and through the patient, loving care and encouragement of having a guy next to me who has always just been there and been pretty faithful.
That's amazing, Jasmine. I have one more question for you. So a lot of people know your story, have been here for these events. They've seen kind of like Bags of Hope morph into Jasmine Grace Outreach. Can you talk a little bit about your newest endeavor? Just because I think it is important to hear about things that work for survivors, and different models of care, as the panel will discuss as well. But I think you're a wealth of information on that. We would love to hear what you're up to now.
Yeah, for many years through Bags of Hope, as we meet the vulnerable and/or exploited women through the outreach, doing groups and giving the bags away, we've sent women across the country to different safe homes. We've paid for bus fare, airfare. We've had volunteers actually get on a plane with a woman to make sure he gets to the safe home safely. But really, it's past few years that we've been able to open up our own restorative home in New Hampshire, that has really been, in-depth work, it's always been a dream to have a home for these women to come and to heal and to rest and restore and to gain that freedom and economic empowerment. But to actually implement it and do the work has been a whole nother thing of commitment and grit, and a lot of time in prayer and seeking best practices and how to really serve these women well. And so really our home is 12 to 18 plus months. It's trauma-informed, mixed with this biblical approach of time to come in and heal and restore and gain that economic freedom by offering, obviously they need to come in and get all their ducks in a row, so to speak. Maybe they need education. Maybe they just need a driver's license, all these different things on top of the healing, but these hard and soft skills for job readiness and employment. And so we've been able to model a little bit after Thistle Farms, which some people might be familiar with, that economic piece where the women are making products. And so we just have a few of these items, and we have some great volunteers that have helped implement this. And one of our residents never knew how to sew in her life and started to sew and started to really enjoy it. And she was making bags, keychains, these warm packs. And she, if she continues at this, and we've had some partnerships in the community where we have, example, an interior designer who has some particular items that she needs hand sewed, and she could hire, these potential seamstresses to do this work. And so it would be a great side hustle, as well as, going to college. Or it's not just like coming in, getting clean and sober and off the streets and getting a get well job. It's way deeper than that. And it's really helping women sit and settle and start to dream again, and offering them that safe place to do that as we walk alongside them.
Round of applause for that. Thank you again, Jasmine, so much for being here with us. You are forever a part of this event, so we'll do whatever we can to just see your beautiful face here on screen or in person. You were the catalyst that brought Cape Cod together, so bringing you here, and God was in that story. So thank you for your time, and we will be seeing you.
Thanks so much. Bye, guys.
And now I'm going to turn it over to Ina for, not doing that, for the panel.
Can we give a hand to wonderful volunteers? We have James and Katie who help me. Wow, what a story. Thank you, Mel, so much. Tonight, I would like to recognize our public leaders, our public servants, Mr. Kip Diggs and Mr. Steve Xiarhos, and I would like you to share some words to a wonderful audience tonight, if you have something to share. Thank you so much for being, and just seeing you together gives me hope to United States of America. Thank you.
We have the same barber. Well, Steve and I came in at the same time. Unfortunately, we've also had two tragedies, a different way, but still a tragedy is a tragedy. I lost my son at 20 years old in a car accident, 4 boys going back to college. And when that happened, I was working for the town of Barnstable as a construction inspector. And I was fed. My family and I were fed for 3 months. We had a meal every single day by our community. And I was like, whoa, what can I do to give back? And I got a suggestion on running for state representative. I prayed on it. We did it. And we ran as a write-in. And we won. And my motivation was not about me, it's about we. You know, so turning a tragedy into a positivity is my motto, is my goal, is my hunger, and is what I want to thrive on with my beautiful wife. Has been unbelievable. I'm in a sling right now, and let me tell you, she's been my wife. She's been a mother. She's been my best friend. She's been a caregiver. She's been everything. So honestly, when all my running around and I'm doing, she's been right there with me. And it takes a village to bring a community. And honestly, I've lived here all my life. You know, Cape Cod, Hyannis, Barnstable is my home. And there's nothing like being able to see everybody with a smile on their face. Or if there's a problem and you don't have a smile on your face, you're asking, okay, what's wrong? What can I do? How can we help? So that's why I'm a state representative. That's why I'm here today, to learn, to listen, because it's not about what I know. It's about what everyone else knows, because actually, even if you're not from here, there's people that are from here that are my bosses. Because if I'm not doing my job, then guess what? I'm not going to get reelected. So it's about really listening to what our issues are and learning from that and going from there. So I'm honored to be here with you. And Rob Galibois, our DA, has been amazing on this. He started it. Well, he didn't start it, but he oversaw things. And so thank you. And, we just have Barnstable has a lot of love here, and love means so much, and it's so important, and that brings hope, that brings faith. Without our Lord and Savior, we're nothing. So, me being a state representative is I'm just a blip, but being the blip, I want to be the best blip I can be. So,
beautifully said. You're the one, Ina, to me. You had this dream years ago when we met. I was a Yarmouth police officer for 40 years. And you came to the police station. We did the national prayer, first time ever. And you told me what you were going to do. And you've done it, you and your husband. So God bless you and keep you going strong. God bless, really. This is special. And the story I just heard, it makes me sad, but also mad. The cop in me comes out. I was born to serve and protect. So 40 years of being a cop, 4 in our 5th year of being state reps, right? I'm a Republican, he's a Democrat. We really don't care. We just want to serve. And that's what we need more of. And when you lose a child, some of you may have as also that, it just, Kip's son killed in a crash with a person going the wrong way. It's horrible. My son, I gave him a hug, and he went off to war as a Marine, and I've never seen his body or him in 15 years. I just saw the flag-draped coffin. So you have to live with that. And when you said turning triumph into tragedy, that That's our life. So I encourage you all to keep doing what you're doing, stick together, support the men and women of law enforcement and the animals of law enforcement. That's big. They go through a lot. They suffer a lot to do their job. And for me to be a cop, to be a Gold Star father, to lose a son, and to be a brother to Kip in the State House, it's pretty special. How did that happen? Right? And we both got into the State House on January 6th. That was COVID, right? So COVID's going on. We're getting sworn in the most beautiful building in Massachusetts. You all should go.
I was the first one there.
Right? We really didn't plan it, but like he showed up like first and I was second, and there was no one else in the building, and we were sitting in the general court. And when you look up and you're saying, how did we get here? You know, we were about to be sworn in, but it was COVID, so there was only the 16 new people. Everybody else had to stay home. It was a lot going on, so you get sworn in. We're in the people's house. We both lost sons. We have hearts of servants. And what I remember is now at 4:30, I'm walking down the steps outside, and a reporter said, hey, are you a new rep? I said, yes. And they said, oh, good luck. You know, how was I? I said, it was fantastic, amazing. The people's house, I love it. And that's when she said, well, what do you think about Washington? And I said, what do you mean? Well, what's going on at the Capitol? I had no idea. Yeah, I missed the whole thing. I didn't know what she was talking about. I got in my Jeep, drove home.
No, you called me.
Did I? Wow.
He called me. I'm at Uno's having lunch. And he goes, did you hear what's going on? I said, what are you talking about?
You didn't know either?
No.
Yeah.
And then he goes, so.
So I got home around 7 and I turned the TV on. And I just said, like, what a difference. In Boston, where freedom was born, we got sworn in the right way, like in a beautiful way. But in Washington, our capital, a horrible thing was happening. So that's how we started our journey. And we'll always be friends and colleagues. So thank you for having us. Thank you, Kip.
Let's go.
Oh, that's right, left-handed, yeah. The Cub Scouts do it left-handed, yeah.
United we stand.
Yes,
That's right.
Yeah, thank you. Now I would like to invite our wonderful panelists. We have our officer Natalie Fachada. I apologize. Please give a hand to our wonderful, beautiful officer. We have our DA, Mr. Galibois. Please welcome. And we have Treasured Life Initiative leader Marcia. Please welcome. And also, Natalie will represent PATH nonprofit. And Reverend Catherine Boyle, please give a hand. I know I sent you an email with questions in advance, but I sense that we need to talk about how we became aware of human trafficking here on Cape Cod. Because a lot of people in this audience, I know some of them travel off Cape from Boston. Can we give a hand to people that came from Boston? Raise your hand. Yeah, they're on the back. Students from Boston Trinity Christian Academy. Is that correct? Let's give a hand to them. They traveled quite a bit. Worcester. Can we give a hand to? Not Worcester, Worcester. I'm working on my accent, okay? And who else traveled across the Cape? Anyone else traveled across the Cape? Yeah. Welcome to our village, Cape Cod. Well, first, may I share how I realized that human trafficking here on Cape Cod? I'm from Ukraine, and back when I was living in Ukraine, I did prevention work with orphans who were graduating from orphanages institutions, and they were vulnerable to get trafficked. And then I came here as a student. Long story short, married and came to Cape Cod. My husband, Andrew Taylor from California, came from California to Cape Cod. And my first summer in Cape Cod, I got contacted with a J1 student. And then I realized that human trafficking here at our doorsteps. I made a movie, documentary, if you Google it on YouTube, human trafficking in the former Soviet Union. I went to Moldova, Ukraine to make a documentary of real stories. And then I found out of a student who was working here on J1 student visa, summer workers who work in restaurants, stop and shop, was abused and came back to her country pregnant. And after that, I realized, oh my goodness, human trafficking is here at our doorsteps. And as a result, when we opened coffee shop, our first big kind of like an outreach event was human trafficking awareness. And that's when I found out it's deeper and there's more problems that we know of. Sometime later, I realized there's connection with human trafficking, addictions, trauma, and this August, we started Pathways to Healing every Thursday here at the coffee shop. We created a safe place for people coming from trauma, from addiction, from mental health. We come together, and last week I found out one person was involved in human trafficking. I had no idea. And I realized that we sometimes have no awareness what's going on around the corner. And awareness, shining light on this topic, makes us stronger and more productive. And together we're stronger. So with that, I would like to start with Officer Natalie. What is your journey realizing that human trafficking is not overseas, but it's actually here at our doorsteps?
So I'm a police officer, as you guys know, but I would say that every community, no community is immune to human trafficking. No person is immune to human trafficking. Everyone has vulnerabilities that someone could be looking to exploit. So with that being said, the Cape and Barnstable, in particular, being, the kind of hub of our community on the Cape, it's the busiest area. We have a lot of tourism. We have a lot of people who are going to be visiting the Cape because of what it's known for. It's this beautiful, serene place that people think, when you think of Cape Cod, you think of this quiet, idyllic town. But there is this very dark underbelly to the Cape. And so as a police officer, I am very aware of that. And so with that being said, it's also kind of this... It makes for a really good environment, unfortunately, for human trafficking to take place because of all of the factors that do make the Cape what it is. It's close to Boston, it's close to Springfield, close to New Bedford, close enough to all of those places that it also offers this anonymity for people to come and hide out on the Cape. So it does create a good environment, unfortunately, for this to take place here. And so with that being said, there's a lot more to be aware of what the Cape has going on. And so with
Thank
that,
you very much.
yeah.
Mr. Galibois, again, I think this year, past year, 2024, you've done tremendous work in this area. Would
Thank
you
you.
share your experience when you became aware of human trafficking on Cape Cod? And the 2024 as well. What success stories, things that you were able to conquer with your work and your team as a DA?
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank the panelists for joining me here today. There's a wealth of experience up here. And thank you, Representative Xiarhos and Diggs, for joining us today and all the support that you've offered for our HT efforts. I'm truly, deeply appreciative. I also just want to recognize a few other people in the audience before I make a few remarks. We're very fortunate to have Detective Katie Parachi in our audience here today.
Yeah.
She's with Barnstable PD. She is a tremendous leader in the HT investigations, not
stand
just
up?
here in Barnstable.
Last year panelist.
Yes, she's a tremendous leader in investigations, not just here in Barnstable, but across the Cape and beyond. So thank you, Detective, for being here tonight. I also have a Superior Court prosecutor here with me tonight, Minnie, who is handling our HT cases inside the office. Yes.
Yay. Thank you for your work.
And we have Massachusetts State Trooper here, Jessica Corey, who's here as well. And we're very hopeful that she'll be helping us out on our investigation as well. And Katie Green, most of you know, is here from our community programs. Thank you, Katie, for joining us. And just want to briefly say thank you for the Independence House. Cheryl Kroll, I see you over there. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And you're representing Treasure Life. So thank you so much. All right, got that all out there. Thank you.
And pass as well. It's important to recognize PA.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you. 2 years ago, I came here to listen to Jasmine Grace. And that was January 2023. I was just sworn in, and I have to admit that human trafficking was not on my agenda or radar screen at all leading up to that particular night. I listened to this compelling speech by Jasmine, walked out of here. I met with Chief McDonald, who happened to be here that night, and he shared with me that he was trying to create a human trafficking task force of law enforcement across the entire Cape. That completely inspired me. I went back to my team in my office and said, what the heck can we do? And we began meeting with such stakeholders as the Independence House, Children's Code, Treasured Life Initiative. And it began to grow there, those efforts to promote social awareness, more awareness about the issue of human trafficking. So shortly thereafter, though, we realized we're a prosecuting office. We need to have prosecutors focusing in on these cases so we can build investigations. Yes, it's crucially important to help survivors get out of the life, but we also need to punish the perpetrators of human trafficking. So I went to my Cape delegation, and I said, I need a little help. I need some more funding so I can build this HT unit within our DA's office. And thank you very much for the funding. We received some funds. We were able to approach the Attorney General's office, a particular assistant AG, convince her to come down here to the Cape and help us launch our HT prosecuting unit. So very grateful for that. Thank you. We're off and running at this particular point. We then worked as an office to try to secure a grant of about $100,000 to provide certain training opportunities for our law enforcement partners, those working in the hospitality industry, those working in the transportation industry, and we did use that money for that purpose. We launched 5 trainings across the district, a couple here in Barnstable County, and then some on Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard, and again, targeting transportation, hospitality, and law enforcement. That was all throughout year 2024. With that experience, we were able to build some credibility with the powers that be that offer those grant funds. So we went back at the end of 2024 and said, we would like another $100,000, please. And we want to use this money to have a statewide conference. And they gave it to us. On April 10th and April 11th, we're going to be hosting a statewide conference at the conference the conference center over in Xiarhos. We're expecting, it's a big deal. It really is. It's a big deal. We're expecting about 300 people from all over Massachusetts to attend, and it's going to be law enforcement again, hospitality, transportation, some folks working in the education field. And we have national speakers already on the books that we're going to be releasing in about a week or two, and we're going to have the U.S. attorneys coming down to help participate as well. So we're really excited about this particular opportunity. So in about 2 short years, we've grown from literally nothing. The first time I walked through that door 2 years ago, I didn't really know about human trafficking. And we've already been able to do these trainings across the Cape. We've supported different stakeholders, and we're really excited. To the point where about a year ago, I went to the state police graduation. That occasion was out in Springfield. And I walked into a room about this size, full of the who's who of commanders from the Massachusetts State Police. Me being the new guy in the block, didn't know anybody. So as I'm going around the room and trying to introduce myself, I kept being referred to as the HTDA. So I was really excited, of course, about that. Really excited. And I offer that for the following. Enid Taylor, you talk about changing the world. Please know that you are. It's because of what you hosted and invited me 2 years ago. All of this has literally happened because of you. So thank you for this.
Thank you. I have no words. Praise God. Marcy, she is one of the incredible leaders, unstoppable. And they started Treasured Life Initiative with Jen Havener. Jen Havener, can you wave your hand?
No, stand up, Jen.
They're
Stand
doing
up.
incredible work. Please share about your wonderful Treasured Life Initiative, what you've done this year, and what's your hopes and for the future.
Well, we came to this event. Did you turn it off?
Yeah, it's on. Speak into the microphone.
I don't like mics. We came 2 years ago as well. This is, Jen told me about the event. I had already read Jasmine's book previous to that, and I knew at that point I wanted to meet her because she just inspired me so much. So we came to the event, and afterwards I went up to her and said, what can we do? She said, start a safe house. I said, okay. So Jen and I got together, and we've been going for 2 years now. We don't have a safe house yet, but we're working on it. We have been involved in raising funds. And I want to do a call out to my favorite youth back in the corner. Put your arm up, James.
James.
James Byrne was here last year, and he heard us speak, and he said, I want to get involved. And he has gotten involved with us, with Ina, in things that she's doing. He was co-auctioneer at our fundraising benefit auction in November and did an awesome job. So this is one thing that we are praying for, is more youth to come on board, because the youth are our leaders for tomorrow.
That's right.
And we really need them. And so so we've done that. We do hope-filled bags and have distributed them from to shelters from Bourne all the way up to Provincetown, women's shelters, the jail, homeless shelters. So we continue to do that. We have, in the last 2 years, started a choosing safety program at women's shelters and have met survivors there. We have been asked on numerous occasions, is there room in your safe house for a survivor? And we have to say, we're really sorry we don't have our safe house yet, but we are working towards it. It's the raising the funds, and our goal for this year is to acquire about 16 volunteer advocates to work 24/7 at the safe house, because it has to be manned 24/7. So we've been busy. The learning curve is incredible, but we've been very busy and very excited about this year and the things that will be happening this year. We'll be having another auction in November, so we'll let you know. It was fun, and again, it'll be a fundraiser for funds for the safe house. So, I've had a little some family things with my hubby being in Canada, and I have to say Jen has just picked up the ball and has done an amazing job. Her and her husband, Kent, who's back in the corner, and her son, where is he?
David, recording.
David. And David's right beside him. They've done an incredible job for Treasured Life, and really grateful for them. So thank you all for being here. And
Please pick up the Treasured Life pamphlets and talk to them. They need volunteers.
We do need volunteers very much. So I hope to talk with more of you afterwards, and I will pass the mic on to Catherine.
This is Catherine. Thank you so much. Treasured Life Initiative. Make sure you sign up and be volunteer.
Absolutely.
Catherine Boyle, Reverend Catherine Boyle, represents church communities, and she speaks about her story. And this summer, she was instrumental in bringing awareness about human trafficking to vulnerable society in the summer, which is workers, tourist workers, J1.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. And she also running Hello Summer J1. I'm helping as well.
Yes.
And there's thousands of students. The world comes to Cape Cod every summer.
Mm-hmm.
And Catherine is instrumental in building safe community and make sure that students do not give up their passports or do some things about America, because some people say, oh, America is safe. Yes and no. And Catherine, could you speak on your work that you do with J1s and also you're a big advocate on online safety?
Absolutely.
And you are expert in that. Could you speak on that?
Let's do the first one. Ina and I met at church, and it was interesting. We both had the same goal. We wanted to help the J1 students, and our church was going to put on an event. And there were 3 people who volunteered, and I said, God, 3 people do not a dinner make. I need some help. At the same time, Ina was circling the wagons in prayer around our church because God was telling her, go in the church, because she was saying, God, I want to do a dinner for J1. I'm not kidding you. This is how it happened. And she was traveling around the church praying, a little nervous to just kind of come in and say, hey, I'd like to do a J1 dinner. And so my husband, is he still here or did he leave? He probably left.
Pastor Matt? No.
No, he'll be back later. So she knocks very gently on the door, and he opens the door, and she blurts out, hi, my name's Enid Taylor, and I'd like to start a J1 dinner. And I was in the nursery praying for a J1 dinner, and he says, let me introduce you to my wife. And that's how it started.
Yeah, Hello
That's how
Summer
it
J1
started.
program. Yep. That fed thousands of students.
Yes.
And united community together to
Exactly.
welcome and give orientation to the world that comes to Cape Cod every summer.
And I also, a couple years ago, I got involved with Cape Cod PATH because they found out that I was helping J1 students, and they identify J1 students as the third most likely group to be trafficked on Cape Cod. J1 students, they are international students, college students from over 70 countries that come to work on Cape Cod every summer. Okay. How many? Too
4,000.
many. Too many, yeah.
4,000 every summer come to Cape
Oh.
Cod and Islands from
Yeah,
35 countries.
about 4,000. Cape and Islands, and now we're reaching out as far north as Marshfield. And we also do J1 backpacks, which have the bike lights, and they're reflective bike lights, and we also put materials in there. And we also, at dinners, we have a police person come and speak on safety, and we speak on certain things that we found out actually happen on Cape Cod to J1 students, especially for second jobs. Not so much for first, but for second jobs, because they come and they work minimum wage, and they spend $1,500 to $5,000 for the privilege of landing on our shores. US dollar equivalent. They borrow it, they beg it, whatever, It's not just all rich kids coming here, believe me. And so a lot of these kids are making money to travel, but also making money for the next semester. And so they have to get a second job, because you cannot pay for rent on Cape Cod. We know how expensive that is, and only have one job. It just doesn't work. So we found things like employers saying, well, I could give you housing if you fill in the blank. I have a job for you that'll pay more money than you have ever seen in your life. And we will pick you up in a limousine and take you there, and then we will drop you back here for your first job.
Do you remember a story of modeling? And
Oh, yes.
you can live for free if you do a favor for me. That would be, and they were calling us, and literally we had to at night like pick them up and get them in a safe place, right?
Yeah, and say, no, say no. Say no. I don't care how much money they're offering you, say no. And it's really hard for some of them because they come from poor families, and they're sending the money, some of them, back to help their families. So some of the things, it's just crazy. They're like, oh, someone offered me a job and they said blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. And then 2 years ago, there was a young man from Kazakhstan walking along 28 in West Yarmouth at night, and this car pulls up beside him and gets out and says, if you come with me right now because you're so good looking, we'll give you a modeling job and we'll pay you $10,000 when you get in the car. He was smart enough to walk away. Another woman, a friend of ours, she texted me frantic and said, I don't know what to do. This girl is gorgeous, and she works in a restaurant. I won't say which one. And this woman came up to her and handed her a very professional-looking card that said, modeling agent. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. And so, I mean, it's a cutthroat, You don't just walk up to somebody and say, oh, you should come, well, I'll give you a job.
Can you speak a little bit on online safety? You're a very big advocate about
yes,
that.
I am. Okay. So, how many parents and grandparents do we have here? Awesome. Listen up, you guys. I know this is a hard conversation to have. You don't want to think that your kids are involved with anything like this. You know, a lot of times I get, oh, my kid would never. Well, let me tell you, I have 4 adult kids, and I thought would never do certain things. And now that they're grown, they've told me very interesting things like dropping their baby brother out the window, you know, on and on. Now that they're adults and they know that I can't catch them, they're telling me all these things. Same with your kids. I hate to tell you, same with your kids. You can't keep your head in the sand, especially about online safety. So being a former teacher, I know to give a handout while I'm talking creates a distraction, so I'm going to hang on to it until afterwards, and then I'll put it on the table if you want one. But first thing you need to do as a parent or grandparent is understand that you are not their friend, you are their protector. And there are people out there out to get them, and I'm not kidding. So first, educate yourself on the types of domestic minor sex trafficking. Shared Hope International actually has a free online course that you can take. It will tell you all the different types of domestic minor sex trafficking. It will educate you as to how it happens and what things you can do. Please take it. Please take that course. The second one that we don't want to talk about and think our kids will ever get involved in is sextortion. For those of you who don't know, what happens is your kid is online, they're on a gaming site or whatever, and someone comes on and chat and says, oh, hey, can you be my friend? And they look at the profile and it looks okay, and so they say yes. And then that person tries to find out information all about them. And kids think that that can't happen to them. Adults think it can't happen to them. Why do I even say kids? We all think it'll never happen. We'll never fall for that. Well, yep, it happens. So what is sextortion? Eventually they say, hey, I'll send you a picture of me if you send a picture naked of you. And it just stays between us, the other person says, right? Oh, yeah, of course, of course. No, it doesn't. The next thing that happens is they say, if you don't send me X amount of money with whatever, or give me a gift card, or meet me somewhere, that's the other one, then I will send the picture to all of your followers. So there is a video you need to watch. It's called No Escape Room. It explains sextortion and how quickly it can happen to your kids. Please go to noescaperoom.org and watch it. It's a scary thing to think of that can happen to your kids and grandkids, but you need to be informed. Whoa, sorry. Third, be the trusted person that your kids can come to. Don't freak out and yell when they tell you that something happened like that, is number one. Teach your kids that secrets should not be kept. A friend will not keep telling you to keep things secret. That's what happened with my dad. Everything had to be a secret. Teach your kids to turn location services off while online. And if they're using apps that won't allow you to do that, get rid of the apps. You can also find other suggestions about what to talk to your kids about at Know to Protect. I've got the website. It's out of the Department of Homeland Security. If something is making your child or teen uncomfortable online, they can report it at report.cybertech.org. They shouldn't be afraid to use it. And if your child has been a victim of sextortion and wants to get the photo removed, there's a possibility that can be done. It's called Take It Down, and it's with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So I'm going to have these in the back later on. Please take them. Please don't be afraid to do these things so that you can protect your kids and grandkids.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I just looked at the time and I realized that we got to wrap up because this topic is unending. But before we do so, please feel free to connect with Treasured Life Initiative, with PATH. Who represents PATH here? Please stand up. People Against Trafficking People do tremendous work. And please talk to Anna Marie, and there are flyers available. Do you have closing remarks for us, Mr. Robert? Natalie?
I'll make sure it's by the back door momentarily, but we created a QR code that we put on a magnet, and we'll put it by the back door. So on your way out, if you want to scan it, you got one. It will provide a wealth of information for various resources. So thank you.
And Natalie, how can we support our wonderful officers in our community? Like, like citizens like us. What can we do to help you be a support system?
I think just understanding kind of the role that we do play every day in helping our community. I think sometimes people forget like the amount of work that we do put in daily. So just keeping that in mind, I suppose. But I appreciate, the support that is shown here in this room, and that everyone's also very supportive of events like this too, because it takes all of us. So we're all on the same team.
Wonderful officers. They're doing a lot. Marcia, do you have anything to say as a closing word? Thank you for all that you do. She is unstoppable every day. She works in this human trafficking awareness every day. It's not just January is months of human trafficking awareness. That's why I wear purple. But this lady, she thinks and breathes human trafficking awareness every day. So can we give a hand to Marcia?
I have to I have to say that's along with Jen. She does exactly the same thing every day. And no, okay. Okay, so what I would like to say is I'm really excited about the shift in our perspective of survivors. Survivors have been put in a box for too long. In 2000, the federal government started an initiative of looking at sex trafficking, and there were laws that were developed, etc. And every year there is an improvement on that. Polaris is a national organization that does the trafficking in persons and the hotline, and they have been doing studies all these years, but they have now come to say that we've been doing all these studies, we have all these statistics, but that's only about 1% of the population of survivors that we know about. And so they did a study, and this is what is so exciting. It's the National Survivor Study, and they had over 50% of the people involved in the study were survivors. And it was an online participation, it was self-reporting, and what came out of that is we haven't done enough. Our services have not provided what they need. Yes, we've got numbers, we've got studies saying we know what the statistics are for the ones that are reported. We know what programs we have, we know what different services, but there have not been enough changes for the survivors. And this is where Jen and I are coming from. This is from our perspective. We want to help empower survivors. We want things to be survivor-led. It would be wonderful to have a survivor-led safe house.
Yeah.
That's where the people who have lived that life are the ones that can be most valuable in developing programs. So that's an area that we are going to be focusing on a lot. And the survivors they say that, and there's one actually in Worcester. Audra? Do you know Audra in Worcester? I'll have to chat with you afterwards. Amazing lady. She's a survivor. She has Jana's house. Okay. She said the most difficult thing is to engage the community and help the community change their perspective from a survivor being a prostitute to a survivor being exactly that. And survivors are the most amazing people I have ever met. They just totally amaze me, and it's a privilege to be able to be involved in this. So I'm excited about the direction that is taking, that we are going to have programs hopefully developed more by survivors than by those of us who have not lived that life, because they're the ones who can bring the truth and the healing and the true freedom through their lived experience. So just wanted to say I'm excited about that.
I cannot agree with you more, because every Thursday we have Pathways to Healing, and we have people who overcame addiction, people who came through trafficking, which I found out, people who overcame mental health problems. They come and they lead. And statistically, they shared last night. Yeah, we had gathering, we put table, we feed them, and we share. We invite therapists to share. Every week is a topic, new topic. So it's not a program. It's called Pathways. It's more free spirit, but guided by guest speakers. And what they said that when survivor and people who overcame addiction do teach and coach, there's more percentage of them be thriving, productive citizen. Absolutely. So this is so true, and they're the living example of that. Yeah.
One other thing I want to mention. Xiarhos International does a report card on every state every year, and I'm sorry to say that Mass is kind of down there in the failure level. However, I am very proud to say that on Cape, because of the initiative of the DA's office and the Human Trafficking Task Force, we are Cape Cod is passing in the training, even though in Mass in general we're not, but Cape Cod is. So I'm really proud of what's going on.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Robert.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So.
And with that, we can talk and talk. I have like 10 questions. I think it's a good moment to end. And Reverend Kathy, would you offer a prayer or a silent moment for us to regroup and finish up a wonderful night?
A silent prayer?
Or whatever you feel led.
A moment. I was kind of wondering how you do that.
However you're comfortable, whatever you.
Okay. Sorry.
We will be silent, meaning that.
Okay. I will pray. All right, I get this now. Well, maybe not. Lord Jesus, we just thank you. We thank you for all the people that showed up tonight, even though it's so yucky out. And we thank you for all the wonderful people that I'm sitting with on the panel and out in the audience as well, and for our wonderful law enforcement who we'd be in horrible state without them. And I thank you for Ina and Andrew and all their helpers, because without them this would not take place, and a lot of things that are going on as a result of helping those who are trafficked was started here. And so we thank you for that. And Lord, I pray that as we go, that this will not just be another event that people have attended and heard information on, but I pray that you will spur each and every person who has heard things tonight to action, whether that is protecting their kids or helping survivors or helping law enforcement, helping to pass laws, whatever it is, Father. Put it on their hearts that they can't just sit, they need to be part of the action. And we thank you that you did not bring anyone here by mistake, that they are here for a reason. And we pray for all our safety as we go. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Please don't walk away without connecting with our wonderful nonprofits, with our wonderful DA, Mr. Robert. Grab information, grab a flyer, make a new friend, talk to our representatives, 2 of them, and eat some food. There's vegetables, there's coffee. talk to a wonderful speaker, get involved. Thank you very much for being here. Have a good night. February 28th, mental health awareness. Sign up in advance. February 28th, mental health awareness. Sign up in advance. Thank you very much.